So we're honored to have back with us Thierry Laurent. He's a geopolitical analyst in France. And I asked him to come on because there's a lot dropping on Brigitte Macron and other French issues. What's happening in France, my friend?
Oh my God, Todd, this is becoming just out of control, totally. There are things that are not that funny, but things that are really, really funny. So listen to that. Let's go for this report.
Sure.
First of all, for the last 6 months, we are facing a number of assassination and suicide that is out of control. And never, ever in the history of France, we have been facing such a phenomenon. Within the Minister of Economy and Finance, 20 people committed suicide. 20.
Wow.
Do you hear the number?
They were Arkancided, as we say in the U.S. Suicide.
Yeah, kind of suicide, Epstein style, perhaps. We don't know.
Right, right.
We have the 3 agents of our internal services. We have Eric Denessé, a former intelligence military from the Navy, with whom I was in contact, and we were scheduling to put together a show on TV. And we have been exchanging a lot of information in the last month. Actually, I was about, in fact, to meet him. He was not answering SMS, and I was just wondering why. And one of my friend lawyers has been calling me and telling me that he has been suicided. I do not believe a second that this has been happening. And he was actually extremely harsh in regard of the policy that Macron has been implementing against Russia. And he was explaining, in fact, the rise of Nazism in Ukraine that was causing a lot of damage to the image of the country, and also a major problem to sell the narrative that has been set up since the beginning of the SVO operation that was justified by Vladimir Putin for the same reason. And actually, you know my story. You know I've been living in Ukraine, and I saw the rise of Nazism. And actually, these guys have been putting together the coup of Maidan, and I was a witness out of it. So later on, something a few days ago, actually, one of our major deputy within the parliament has been committing suicide by hanging himself when he was just about to release a book to point out how Macron has been robbing money out of the state by selling one of our major assets, which is Alstom. So you can imagine that there is a suspicion that is raising. 24 hours ago, this is one of our major comics that committed suicide again. He was thrown through the window of his apartment. And the justification was about that he was trying to grab his telephone that was falling. What the heck is going on? And this guy was really, really harsh in regard of the way that our politicians are behaving toward the population. So there is this kind of, it's like a little bit like the COVID, you know? It seems that there is a pandemic of suicide in France, which is impossible to justify. On top of it, right now, we have a big story. So let's talk about the story of Brigitte Macron or Brie Michel. We don't know. You know that there was a journalist of investigation that has been digging into this story. And what we have been hearing from her lawyer, the name of this journalist is Nathalie Ray, is that one, in front of the appeal court, the judge has been dismissing the suit against the journalist, saying that she has been doing a great job and there was no way to sue her for, defamation. We are hearing from the same lawyer that all the proof against the journalist were fabricated.
Wow.
We are hearing that there was a sort of cabal that has been set up between the procureur, the lawyers, and the judge to make sure that she will be punished by court. And today, this entire story is reversing at the point that Natasha Ray decided, in fact, to sue the procurer, the lawyers, the judge. She's asking for the dismissal of the judge, and she's suing them to court. This is a big scandal in France. And actually, what was unbelievable is that the journalists, they were just rushing into the court, in fact, to listen to the verdict. And when, in fact, the appeal court has been saying it's out of question, we will be suing and punishing this woman, all the journalists were completely like crushed, and that was a big disappointment for them because they were about, in fact, to lynch on the public place, mediatically speaking, a woman that has a cancer. We need to remember that one of the journalists that has been putting together this investigation has been found dead into a river with some sleeping pill in the stomach in a massive manner. And there was no way that this woman would want, in fact, to kill herself. The second journalist is right now living in Russia because she has been asking for political asylum to Vladimir Putin. She's very scared, in fact, to live in France because she thinks that she will be killed. Can you believe this story? And the second journalist is living in Italy. Macron has been asking to put together a procedure of expelling him from Italy. And
your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
This is a special report.
Knowing how to invest your money is harder than ever before. Dealing with stock market volatility, record debt, and terrorist attacks requires new thinking. At U.S. Asset Management, we can help you see the world more clearly so that you can move beyond the chaos and invest with confidence. Call us, visit us online, or drop by our office. U.S. Asset Management, helping you make better decisions with your money.
And this is Meloni that refused, in fact, to kick him out. So basically, there is a big story that is brewing, and we are waiting for the next step, which is, in fact, the dismissal of the CEDH, which is the Court of Justice of European Union, because the lawyer has been asking for some information regarding the deposits of a lawsuit against, in fact, all this cabal. And the clerk dared to write him a letter saying that she has been trashing the entire affair in the way that it will be not instructed. So basically, this is obstruction to justice. This story is going to grow and to grow and to grow. And actually, the Nathalie Ray is asking for the resignation of Emmanuel Macron. So you
have a situation where Macron looks to have been stealing a lot, going after political enemies, possibly murdering them, and also his wife may be a man. So,
for the moment, the story of the sexual identity of Brigitte or Jean-Michel, we don't know, is not on the picture. But what is very, very fishy, listen to this one, it's a major one. Mm-hmm. We have a former minister that went on TV that dared to say that Jean-Michel Macron cannot show up in front of the Court of Justice because he died. So how come somebody that has been dying can sue a journalist alive? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. When do we see that somebody is coming out of his grave and saying, oh, I am going to sue this woman because she's a bad person? This is completely ridiculous. So basically, the entire story is extremely fishy, and something very ugly is going to come out of it. We are waiting.
What do you see happening, Thierry? How do you see this playing out?
Well, the Macron and Macron, which is in fact the same person, we believe, is just making go to the Supreme Court, in fact, to ask. It's a sort of Supreme Court, okay? I don't know what is the translation of this term because it's a very juridical, French-oriented, but it's like a Supreme Court asking, in fact, to counterpart the appeal that was set up by Natasha Ray. So we don't know what is going to happen, but in regard of the fact that this mafia has been putting together a mechanism of fraud to justice that might trigger another type of scandal that makes, in fact, Macron having to leave the power. Nevertheless, now we have another issue which is even worse. You know what happens in Aix-en-Provence last week? I was attending to a major economic week meeting, during which a certain numbers of executive, minister, and so on has been participating. Within it, there was two ministers of foreign affairs, one current, active, and the second one who used to be the one of François Mitterrand. That was Hubert Védrine, and the current one is Jean-Noël Barrot. So during 1 hour, what I have been hearing, and that's just funny because the topic of the meeting was about come back to realities, okay? During 1 hour, I have been hearing the disposal of President Donald Trump, Russia, and the BRICS. And we had a bunch of executives that were just spitting on the presidency of Donald Trump. When I was telling you during several shows that the worst enemy of the President of the United States, current Mr. Donald Trump, was the European Union and the European Commission, I was totally right. And those guys, they will do whatsoever necessary in the way that he will fail. So basically, he needs, in fact, to consider that his worst enemy, it is certainly not Russia. This is Europe right now.